back with another episode of the Mike Murphy Show. Today I got a very special person to me. He's one of the first people I met when I came to Hollywood. Always been helpful, always been supportive, and books me on her show a lot. So I want to introduce to you Lani Crooks. How's it going, Lani?
Hey.
How you doing today? You good?
I'm good.
That's good. So I start off the show by telling the people how I met every guest. So I don't know if you remember this. I talked about it on another episode. Chocolate Sundaes used to have, matter of fact, first of all, this is the booker for Chocolate Sundaes at the Laugh Factory. So Chocolate Sundaes used to have a VIP package you could buy, and they would shout your name out and get a t-shirt. It wasn't like this shirt I got now, but it was, I still got the shirt. But I would sign it, and I didn't know nobody out here, so I always put comedian, and I was using my nickname, White Mike, and I would put that on the thing. So I would make the host, shout me out. I used to try to get them to be like, oh, like the Hollywood dream, like, oh, you think you're good? Come on up, do 2 minutes. Like, I thought that was going to happen if I put that, like trying to just like weasel my way onto the stage anywhere I could. So I did it a couple of times, but then it was Ron G's birthday, the all-white party right before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I put the, my name down, whatever. He shouted me out, laughed or whatever. Then we went to the place. I forget what the name is called. It's the old after hours for Chocolate Sundaes in that plaza.
Adults only.
Okay, yeah. So we went down there for Ron G's birthday afterwards. And I had already knew Takara. I had met her from just being out in Hollywood, going to different shows. So I had kind of like, not a friendship, but we knew each other a little bit. So when we got there, I sent you and her drinks because y'all were together. I was sending her to drink, but I'm like, I can't send one person, like not the other person. And so she was like, come here. She called me over. She was like, Lani wants to know, like, asked who that was that sent the drinks. And she was like, oh, that's White Mike. He's a comedian. She was like, oh, that's the guy from the show. Cause I guess when they said it, you was looking like from you're like in the back in your little dungeon under the light and couldn't see who it was. And she was like, oh yeah, him. And so she's like, tell him to come here or whatever. So she came over, thanked me. And then you were like, yo, you're a comedian. And at this point you had already had a couple drinks. I could tell by the way, like your whole, you know what I mean? I was like, oh yeah. You was like, so you just gonna keep coming to the shows or you gonna do it? And I was like, I want to, if it was that fucking easy, I would have been on the show. I'm like, yeah, I signed up, but the list, my date is like 3 years out. You was like, no, send me a DM, we'll talk. I'm like, all right. I DM'd you and you're like, why you keep spelling my name like that? I was like, what you talking about? I was spelling with an O. Mm-hmm. You was like, that's not my name. I was like, you said Lani, right? And I was like, now I start to feel like pressure, like, I'm like, is there another way to spell this shit? Like, what is she? I'm like, is it NNY? Like, she was like L-A. I was like, oh, okay, my bad. I'm like, damn, this is not going good.
First of all, it's in my username. That's why I said that.
But I was drinking
clearly
too.
Says,
and it's little. I wasn't looking. So she was like, you see it? I was like, oh, okay, my bad. I was like, this ain't going well. All right. So I sent you the DM. He was like, all right, got it. I think a week later, COVID happened. And that was it. So I was like, oh, man, this is... So I was like, whatever. But then, the world opened back up and then we came back and then I'm like, hey, remember me? You're like, oh, I remember you. It was all good. And I did the show a couple of times since then. But I know the first time I did the first impressions, I know you people usually do it. I'm like, oh, how did I do? Did I make it to the graduate spot or whatever? I just didn't even ask. I just did it and was like, yeah, that wasn't it. It was...
Hey, you get major props for that because we always talk about among the staff that self-awareness is not a common trait in the comedian world. Most comedians will say they killed it every time.
Every time.
Yes.
No, so when it happened and I was like, yeah, I ain't asking shit. Like,
you didn't even make eye contact as you walked.
I just came off like, thanks, Lani. Went upstairs, the rest of the comedians like, yeah, you guys like, yeah, it was cool. Like, I don't even want to, because I don't ever say like, oh yeah, no, it was, because then they start digging into the, well, what, you know what I mean? I ain't hear nothing. I was just like, whatever. I could have done better. Like, let's leave it at that. And so I didn't even say nothing. And then I did it the next time and I made it to the graduate spot, which I'm still waiting on, but it's a long line. So tell the people like what that process is as the booker, like to get on that stage, because that's the stage everyone wants to be on, especially the people who don't live in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
For them, it's like going Madison Square Garden. You know what I mean?
I mean, it really is in the comedy world. I feel like it is like one of the top rooms to perform. And that's why the wait list is so long. It's so anyone can sign up. That's the one thing about us, though, is anyone in the world can sign up and get a spot. Yeah. You just have to wait a long time. A lot of places, like even the Laugh Factory, normal Laugh Factory, you have to go on like Tuesdays and like spend the night on the ground there to like reserve your spot or whatever. We don't do that. So you sign up, it's 3-minute spot, and I think right now the wait list is about 5 years.
Yeah.
So we had started the virtual show to kind of dwindle down that list, because that's what you get, right? If you open it up to anyone, you don't require them to send a clip, then you start getting people who, have it on their bucket list to perform or who dabble in comedy. So they're taking the spot of someone who might be doing comedy for 5-10 years, So we started the virtual show to kind of dwindle down that list, and we would do 12 comedians a week and pick the best ones to move on to the main show. But that virtual show just wasn't doing well. No one wants to watch virtual comedy after COVID, especially not an open mic virtual comedy. I mean, even Kevin Hart, I think week after week would, have trouble getting a loyal following on virtual comedy every week.
Yeah.
So we stopped that because it was just a lot of resources and time for us. So now we're back to just booking, and the wait list is probably going to get back up to 6, 7, 8 years for that spot.
Yeah, because other comedy clubs like in LA, you have to be local. Like they won't even. Whereas I don't know how they can prove that, but
right,
I know it says it when you know what I mean. So yeah, and I seen that because when I signed up, I was like, I thought it was I was refreshing it. Like this is wrong. Like this can't be this long. You know what I mean? And in my mind, I was like, I'm not. I don't want to say like not a rule follower, but when you really like have a passion about something or you really want something, you figure like, yo, I got to do it before this. Like I got to find another, because there's more than one way to skin a cat. I'm like, I can't wait 6 years to do the 3-minute spot. Like I got to figure out a way. And then, I show up the last couple of weeks, like, hey, if somebody don't show up, I'll go up and do my spot. Some people don't want to do that. They're like, call me when I can come. I'm going early every week just to make sure like, hey, I'm here if you need me, because I'd rather do that. It'd be an opening. And you did that one time before. I wanted to work on some clean material. He was like, yo, it's the holiday. We don't have no first impressions. You can go up. I'm like, all right, cool. But a lot of people, I think that separates the people who really want it from the people who just want to do it. They say, it's just something to say they did. Like you said, oh, it's my bucket list. Yeah, I performed there. They don't really care. You know what I mean? But I see a lot of comedians complaining about it on the podcast. So one time, and you could tell me how this came about. So you posted a clip and it was a guy in the comments. And this is from the podcast from Chocolate Sundaes. And I don't know why he came after you. You know what I'm saying?
Because I'm an easy target. Everyone comes after me.
First of all, before I even get into that, he made it about race. And I think that's why initially he just didn't like the comment.
Me being the slave master.
Yeah, she was like, she's not even black, talking about judging black comedian. Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, you think Lauren Michaels can't say who's good for Saturday Night Live because he's not black? Like, it was weird. So that was the first thing that caught my eye, but he was coming after you. And I don't remember who was the guest on the episode, but they could have defended themselves. They didn't say nothing about them. And I didn't like that. But basically, he was like, Chocolate Sundaes ain't shit. Ain't nobody blowing up off Chocolate Sundaes. Like they act like they doing something. I'm gonna come down there in a limo and I'm gonna get out with my entourage and I'm gonna go down and burn this shit down. And then I ain't even doing the main show or some shit like that. Like he was just talking so crazy. And your response, I wish I had this in me. You was like, why didn't you sign up? Or something like that. You was like, I didn't sign up. The list is 5 years. But he was like taking it out on you as if like you were oppressing him. And I'm like, I only seen that one comment. I'm pretty sure you get stuff like that more.
Oh, and there were a lot of comments from him and his group.
I did see those.
Yes. So the episode was with Louis Belt, who is a young, funny comedian. Yeah. And the conversation, which I keep having and I keep asking on social media, is where are the young, funny comedians? They don't exist.
Yeah.
And everyone you talk to across the board, the vet comedians to the young comedians, will all say there's not a lot of them.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of different reasons that, we could talk about, whether it's life experience is what makes stand-up comedians funny. It's now young kids are focusing on sketches and doing stuff for TikTok, and Instagram versus writing well thought out, stand-up
like
jokes.
The incentives are different.
There's different reasons why there aren't a lot of young, funny comedians, but I think it's a fact. And but obviously it's arguable because there are young, funny people who want to argue with me and say that they're funny, but you're not doing shows. So you can't be that good because you're not across the stages performing stand-up. You're not getting booked because your stand-up is not that good. So he was mad. I'm not going to say he's not funny. I haven't seen him, but most of the time when you say so-and-so, if you have a a statement about someone, the people who have a problem with it are people who identify with that.
Yeah, like a hit dog or holler.
Yes.
And
and honestly, the funny comedians had no problem with my statement.
But a lot of, like, when you ask that question, now that you bring it up, I do remember that's what it was about. You said under 30.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was older than 30. I remember that because he was like, but I'm just saying, like, he was defending this imaginary under 30-year-old person that he knew. Like, what are you talking about? And then, and we had that conversation because they were talking about, it was me, it was Tony Rock. It was a bunch of us. We were at Ruby Tuesdays, and the guy that tours with Chris Rock, his name is Matt Claybrooks. He was up there and he was saying they had something, they were working on something. They were trying to do a biop or whatever, for Mike Epps.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to find someone young to play him. And he was like, I can't think of anybody at this age that looks like him, this funny, whatever. And they kept saying Louis Bell.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, man, Louis is almost 30. You're talking about against someone's like 21, 22. And we just were sitting back and we was like, no, he's 30. He's 32. Like, there wasn't no one young.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, there's a lot of reasons. I personally think that, like, when you think about someone like Chappelle, who said he did, stand up at 15, and them guys were in them clubs, life was different back then. There was no social media. There was no, you know what I mean? Like, everything was fast. Like, you got a daughter this, 15? 14?
Mm-hmm.
So my daughter's about to be 14. My daughter said, can I walk 2 blocks up to the store to Amazon? No.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because the world is like, we had it different growing up. We were way more free. We were more capable. So these people are out in the comedy clubs or out in the world getting those experiences. And you kind of, Martin, they were all young. All them dudes were young getting those opportunities. Now it's like, with social media, that takes over part of it. Like you said, they're working on sketches and stuff like that. And then some of them, they're 25, they ain't did nothing. What you want to talk about? Living with your mom still? You know what I mean?
But they can. I mean, there are funny ones that are under, if they would talk about their lives. I just think, I don't know, it's like their I don't know, their premises and stuff just aren't, it's just different. But I honestly don't think, even back then, though, I don't think there were a lot of funny people. When we talk about them, we're talking about the greatest to ever do it.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle, Eddie Murphy had his specials in his 20s.
Yeah.
Like, even like Kevin Hart, I think, was under 30 when his, like, a couple of his specials dropped.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the world's greatest comedians.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at a lot of the other ones that are out now, were they funny before 30? I don't think that they were.
I think a couple, like you say, greatest, and some people they're different. We talked about this the other day, list of who's your top 5 or whatever and stuff. Like, a lot of the common ones are Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Robin Williams. Like, I don't know how old they were, Red Fox. I don't know how old they were when they started, but like the ones that I could think of is like you said, like Chappelle, Martin was young, Chris Tucker was young, Jamie Foxx was young, but Jamie Foxx is great for acting. Like, they don't look at him as a great comedian. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, yo, he's one of the top. I love him, but I'm saying, generally speaking, I don't see a lot of people ever putting Jamie Foxx in comedy.
Right.
But his talent, he's probably the most talented person that I've ever been on alive with at the same time. But as far as comedy, he's a good actor. He could sing, he could play the instruments, impressions, all that. But like you said, Chappelle.
I just think now, I think the main reason is, I think that there are a lot of funny people under 30, but they're all creating content in bite-sized form for the socials. And I think the best stand-ups are stories, right? It's storytelling. They're longer jokes.
Yeah.
If you were a one-liner, like Adam Hunter, he's a white comedian that does one-liners. He's great at that. He'd be good at, if he was young, it'd be great for social and stand-up. But most stand-up is long, drawn-out stories, and the young kids are making, 30-second clips for social.
Clip. So you think that
their focus is different because the money's there, and that's instant money.
Yeah.
You grow a following, you start getting paid immediately versus having to build an audience, start working clubs, making $30 a show, trying to travel, scrounge up money to go to the next city. Like, now you just sit in your house and you're cashing checks.
Yeah. And I mean, so do you think that is harmful to the art form of comedy as we known it to be? Like,
oh yeah, I say it all the time. I think stand-up comedy is dying a very quick death because of that. And because this is the biggest problem. So people who don't really watch stand-up, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll go and once you build up a social following, you start having shows, right? They start doing stand-up, and the improv will book them across the country.
Yeah.
So all their fans now go to stand-up. They've never been to stand-up. They don't really know, and they'll go to a stand-up show, and it won't be funny because that person doesn't do stand-up.
No,
they just have an online following.
Yeah.
So now they're like, oh, stand-up comedy sucks, right? Because that's their first experience with it.
And you also got to think, like, sometimes we don't even look at, like, most of the people in this country never been to a comedy show, because if you live in Iowa, what comedy club is there? You know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of, there's cities with no comedy clubs at all. And if it is, they don't get the experience. So if it's a person consuming internet comedy all the time because everybody got a phone, and then they go to a show to, we're in LA, we're going to go to the Laugh Factory. And then when y'all posted the video of the woman screaming at Ron and storming out, like, she's probably a person that just watches social media. And the fact that he's saying something, or she's like, oh, this isn't, because we all know in Hollywood, these aren't like the Laugh Factory, the Improv, all those other the comedy clubs. They don't have like headliners. You know what I mean? Like, they have ensemble, you get a variety. So you're not really performing for your audience per se. There might be people there that know you and want to come to see you, but everyone there might be for a different person. So if I'm there to go see, I want to see someone like, we'll say Ron, but then Corey's on stage. Those are vastly different comedians. You're sitting there like in the stands because you're like, he's talking about abortions and this, and oh my God, I'm so disgusted. And Ron's not even cussing. Like, so it's especially in Hollywood. So if you got a person who never really goes to comedy clubs and they're like, well, I like this guy, and then they go to the Laugh Factory and you get a lineup where Ron's hosting and you get, Donnell and Corey Holcomb close the show out. That's from the start to the finish. That's not the same show. And people are like, they're writing reviews, and that's, so I think it is harmful as well. But
the upside of that, though, the other side, which I think happens more frequently, is you get exposed to people that you don't know, and you find out about new comedians that you like.
Oh no, I like that. I
think it happens more the other way.
Like,
where you might come for Ron, but then you see the lineup of 4 other comedians and you find new people that you like.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I think that's good. I meant like the internet content, I think is ruining stand up, and there's you can't really separate. Like, Haha Davis told the story on a podcast a while back. He had millions of followers from making the skits Guard, and he was getting booked at theaters. And that to me was like, no one told you that's not going to go well, because.
Did he say that it didn't go well?
Oh, he said he bombed 3, like, got booed.
I'm so glad you said no, because
he said it. He said it like
he bombed at our show, but I've never really talked about it. He did the grad spot. And at the time I didn't know who he was. People told me, and he was booked or whatever. And can you give him 5 minutes? I said, yeah, we'll do the grad spot. And he bombed. And oh wow, okay. I didn't know it was like a thing that was happening everywhere.
Yeah, so I seen him live once in Pittsburgh before I moved to LA, a couple months before I moved. It was him, Jess Hilarious, and the person that features for her, a guy named Desi Alexander.
Oh yeah, Desi. Desi's very funny.
Desi killed it. And I don't even want Jess to take this the wrong way. She didn't do bad. She just had the energy like, I sell out everywhere, and this was a poorly promoted show. So her energy was like, y'all getting some. How y'all feeling today? What you want to talk about? Like, it wasn't her material. So I was like, but Desi came out with material and he killed. But Haha was the first, of the 4, because they had like a local person, and he did okay, but it wasn't like, he didn't bomb, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm paying for what I got. It wasn't that. And then I watched the interview where he said he was doing theaters. I think St. Louis, New Orleans, and somewhere else, Chicago, maybe something, big theaters. 2,500 people.
Where was his development? It's not his fault.
It's not his fault.
He's not grinding from the open mics and up.
Nope.
He goes from the internet to theaters.
Yes.
He should bomb.
He should. And the guy that's his feature now, I don't know his name. I apologize. If I would even thought about going there, I would have figured it out. But he taught him, he said, like, he's like, nah, bro, you got to get in them comedy clubs and them bar shows, the stuff that builds the character. Because, I mean, you don't do stand up, but that a lot of comedians came from like, I just left a show at the Rooftop, and they got the MLB playoffs on like while I'm doing my set. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they're
Food,
passing
drinks.
hookah right there. The stage is 2 feet away from the first chair. Like it's not, you know, ideal for stand-up comedy, but working through that gets you quick with the crowd work because you gotta adapt all the time. And that makes you that can't make your material better. Material gotta be what you write, but that makes you more comfortable on stage, deal with this distractions, be able to, you know, keep in the pocket. And he didn't go through that. And he said it like I bombed, like they were booing me. He was like, because I was trying to do my skits on stage. Like he didn't even try to write material. He's like, yeah, it was so, you know, guard. And they were like, what, man? Yo, fuck out of here.
So, and then the other thing too is once they go from the internet to the stage, it's all their fans too. So they're not used to performing in front of people who don't know them.
Exactly.
So that's why we've had Minx on a couple times.
He just did it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So I applaud him because he's trying to get out more and do other shows where it's not his promoted show where his fans come.
Yeah.
That's why he wanted to do the show because he's been on tour and all this stuff. But he's like, I want to do, you know, new audiences because it's a different room when people aren't there for you. If they come for you, they're rooting for you.
Yeah.
You already get the laugh.
You get the grace period, even if
it's like, very hard to bomb when the audience is full of all your fans.
Exactly. And Minx, before he just went up, he told us like, I just did a show with him the week before that, and he did good. And it was a lot of people there that knew him from social media, and he tours with Barry and Big Josh. So when them shows, they know what to expect. Laugh Factory, everybody jokes like, oh, it's gentrified now. Like it's not like it probably was 15 years ago, or whatever, when it first started. I wasn't there, but all the comedians have been doing it for always say, oh, this is a new crowd. So when you're not used to that, and you're dealing with tourists and people that live in West Hollywood and stuff, it ain't the same if the material ain't there. And so, yeah, I told him the same thing, but I was like, yo, go out and, do different crowds. But when you don't, you have too quick of a success on social media, and now you're doing something you're unfamiliar with, you're skipping a process. And now this is one art craft that you can't. Like a rapper can drop a mixtape and like the girl Glorilla, she dropped one song, went crazy. She's touring, got signed. She's doing well. Because rap is not, you perform, you can learn how to perform better, but the words are the, you know what I mean? Like if, like, okay.
No, but Ice Spice just had that issue, right? Didn't she just bomb somewhere? Because she did the same thing. She blew up on the internet.
I didn't hear that.
She went to, it wasn't like Coachella, but it was like a festival or something, I think. And I think she bombed or something happened. And they're saying because there was no time for her to develop as a performer. Yeah. I think it works the same way for music. Just because you can rap in the studio doesn't mean you can put on a show.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So in the performance, but like we know, like we'll use Ron. He has a set. He might kill it one week and then he's doing it and somebody's like, they're not feeling it or they're not. Now you have to be able to pivot to, go here and switch up. You have to know that. With rap, I mean, like you said, it could happen because I guess it just did. The song is you're not changing those lyrics, you're not delivering them differently. It's they want to hear it the same way they hear it on YouTube or wherever. It's set. Well, comedy is not really a set. You have to kind of be able to be flexible. So I guess, but like you said, it could happen with that. But I think it's way more likely to happen in comedy than because that's a whole different muscle. And I think, and T.I. even said like, yo, this is way different than rap. I can't lean on me bopping around and all that. He was like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, some comedians do.
He said, I couldn't, you know what I mean? He's like, I can't take a break and let y'all sing the lyrics while,
He could. If he was smart, he would like combine it.
Oh, yeah, if he combine it. But I'm talking about like the actual material. He can't be like, yeah, and I said, my wife, you can't finish the joke for him. They were like, finish the joke, bro. We don't, you know what I mean? But he said that. So I guess you need that. You need that practice to go from there. So
So back to that guy though. My point is, so yes, the wait list is super long. We are very selective, or it takes a long time to get on our stage. But I always make it known that I do take referrals and we have them. And to me, if you're a comedian, like let's say you sign up and the wait list is 6 years, but if you're in the streets, you're at the clubs performing and you're funny, the comedians will talk about you and they will refer you to me. In those 6 years, if you're actively working, there should be somebody that does Chocolate Sundaes that's on the main show that, I take their referrals that says that you're funny. If not, then you're not working enough. And that's what I'm saying. And comedians will say, oh, they'll vouch for me. They'll vouch for me. But they won't. If you're not funny, they really don't want to put their name, because our rule is if you recommend someone and they don't do well, you can never recommend anyone ever again in life. So they take their recommendations very seriously, but we get them. Comedians will tell me so-and-so's in town. He's super funny. We'll put them up and they'll be great.
Yeah.
So Comedians Talk is a very small community. So if no one's talking about you like that, you're just not funny enough yet. You're not there yet. You know, you need to hit smaller stages or hit more stages. And that's not to say you won't ever get there. It's just you're not ready.
Do you think ego plays a part in the entitlement of someone who thinks that they're great and they shouldn't have to wait 6 years?
Oh yeah, for sure. There are people,
because that's what it felt like with that guy's comment. It felt like ego and entitlement. Like I'm good enough. Why would I have to wait? Like that show ain't all that.
No, and to me, if you feel like that, I'm never gonna tell anyone what their self-worth should be.
Yeah.
I mean, do that. I if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But like I said, if you're really that great, there should be someone that's telling me to book you.
Yeah.
From that, not one person told me, no, he's really funny. You need to book him.
Yeah.
No one told me that.
No one knew him.
Exactly.
Like in the comments, it was like, who's this dude?
So, exactly. So, but if you feel like you shouldn't have to wait, then you shouldn't. But you're not going to do the show, and that's fine if you don't want to do it.
And that's the thing, like you said, you can feel however you want, right? You're entitled to feel, you're the way you want. But you're the one asking to be on the show. You guys didn't reach out to him and being like, "Hey, can we?"
We didn't ask him. It was he got on the post and started.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So he's talking bad about the show, but he's signed up to be on it.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't like this studio, and I'm like, man, that studio is shit. But I'm like, yo, what's the rates? Like, why you want to be here if it's not nothing? Like, why would you even be on a waiting list for however long his time is if it's a show you think ain't shit? That's just emotion. Like this is anger and just, you know what I mean? And I felt like he just attacked you, which is like, I'm not saying you're incapable, but you're a woman. Like he just said something to Lewis. Lewis could have grinded him up on, you know what I mean? Any one of the comics, Sydney, Jane, any one of the people that are frequently on that page that are men and are comedians that can get him back like that. He didn't say nothing to them. He just said it to you. And then he made it about race too in the beginning. I didn't like that. I was like, this is weird. But you're talking shit about something you want to be a part of.
But I'm the gatekeeper and it comes with the territory. Pookie told me when I first started booking and taking over the show, he was like, you know, they're going to hate you because they always hate the gatekeepers because they feel like I'm holding the keys of their success in my hands and I'm choosing to either give it to them or not.
So how long have you been booking the show?
I think since 2014 or 2016, somewhere around there.
But you worked for the show before that, correct?
Yeah, well, I was an intern while I was in college when I first moved here in 2003. I think I started it's either 2004 or 2005.
Okay.
So I worked like 4 or 5 years and then I left for corporate America.
Okay.
But I always wanted to come back and run the show.
Yeah.
And I came back in 2016 to fully take over the business.
So I take it, I mean, you're very capable at what you do. You do a wonderful job. Do you think your relationship with Pookie, he like not groomed you for it, but you were probably like the number one candidate? Like, if I got to give this over to somebody, I wanted to be her, or it was just like you had to fight for it?
No, I think it was. I mean, he knew that that's what I wanted to do and he trusted me. And I, from being an intern and all that, I kind of showed my work ethic.
Yeah.
I used to work really, really hard back in those days before my old age. But there were other people that had taken over the show in the meantime. They did a great job too, but it was just always my passion. It made sense.
So how do you book the show for the main show?
Well, I try to get a variety. I always try to include a woman for sure, but that's kind of difficult, which that's a different conversation from the young comedians finding really, really funny females. So please send them to me if you know any. But I always try to include a woman, usually one other non-black person, but mostly
Sundays.
Right. No, but we try to book mostly black. I mean, that's the whole point of the show is to give black comedians stage time in Hollywood, which they're still not getting enough of.
So
but I do a variety though of styles. Like I'm not gonna do all all toxic.
Oh yeah, that's what I was asking. Like, do you try to balance it out?
Not Corey Holcomb, Henry Coleman, maybe Black
David
Ron,
Lucas.
David. Yeah, I try to mix like a little bit, maybe a cleaner comic, maybe a more political comic, one that does a lot of like active stage where he's running all over the place, one that's kind of quiet.
Like Kevin
Trying
Tate.
to mix it up. Yeah.
So it's so funny that I just brought him up. So 2 days ago we're in a Laugh Factory, and a young comedian, he got to open for Corey in Ontario that last weekend. And he was bragging, like you said, they always kill. And I just met this dude maybe like a couple of weeks ago, so I don't really know him that well. But when they were joking, Tony Rockingham was like, yo, he's like, I average at 8. My performances average is at 8, like a 10 standing ovation. He's like, I always average at 8. And we're like, okay. So we're like, how did you do? And he was like, it wasn't that great. The delivery was a little bit off, whatever. I'll probably say like a 4.5, maybe a 5. 5 is average. We're like, all right, but it just sounded like it was some bullshit. Like it didn't go well at all. And I was just like, I'm real analytical. So I was like asking like little questions, and his story kept changing a little bit. So that when I see Kevin Tate, I'm like, now I know Kevin Tate ain't the kind of dude that he'll give you some real wisdom. Like ever since the day I met him, it's always been like, yo, kind, you know what I mean? I was like, let me just ask him, because I know he's torn with Corey. He was there. And I was like, he said it would be a 4.5. What do you think? He was like, and I'm only saying this because he's like, I love the craft. I love it. He was like, it was probably like a 2. I was in the room, and we all started laughing because we was like, yo, we told you that based off what you were saying, it wasn't that, you know what I mean? And we weren't trying to like humiliate him. We were trying to like, yo, and Kev was trying to give him game and tell him like this thing. And he just arguing with him. And we all just was like, yo, whatever, man. Like, just leave it alone because you're not listening. He's trying to tell you, you know, what you did wrong. And he just didn't want to take it. And he just arguing. He was getting upset. I'm like, yo, listen, you bombed. We all did it. I'm like, the difference is when most people bomb, they know they bomb.
They don't.
Well, I guess the people who, well, maybe you're right. Maybe you see more comics than I do on a weekly, you know what I mean? But I've had comedians that I respect to say, yeah, that wasn't it.
See, I'm glad you said that, because I don't think that happens enough. And I do think it's a regional thing, because you're from the East Coast.
Yeah.
And I think, just in general, the East Coast is like more blunt, more honest, I think. And I don't think a lot of comedians do that out here, and they need to do that more, because they'll say that. They'll ask me for my opinion, which a lot of them don't. They ask me how they did. And I try to be honest. I'm not mean about it, but I'll be honest. But, they'll come back, or if they didn't make it to the grad spot, they'll come back and say, oh, my friend said I did great, or the audience, I had a couple people in the audience, they said I did great. And it's like, they're not telling you the truth. Your friends are not telling you the truth. They're coddling you. Yes. But that needs to happen more.
And I seen your post today on Instagram. He was like, people or other comedy bookers mean because they're saying I'm so nice, and I thought I was mean. And I'm laughing like, I never thought you were mean. I just thought you were direct and straightforward, and I always appreciated that. But I'm a person that is like, I'm hard on myself, and for like sometimes the wrong reasons, because I can go on stage and do really well, and then someone like Tony Rock can go up, or someone who got 20 years, 15 years and kill it. And I'm like, I suck. I didn't get that same kind of, and you're like, yo, you're comparing yourself to this dude who's been all, you know what I mean? Got thousands more reps than, like, you can't do that. Some people, they don't care how they did. Oh, I killed. They got someone tagging them in their story. Yo, so-and-so killed at the Laugh Factory. No, you didn't. Like, why are they, that's not helpful, because you're not, if you think that's killing, you don't change anything. So when I get off, I'm like, yo, Lani, how I do? If you were like, yeah, that wasn't it, I was like, okay, let me go.
Well, I wouldn't say it like that.
I mean, no matter how you choose to say it, like, oh, that wasn't,
But see, I think why they don't know it, Chocolate Sundaes, a lot of the beginners, because most of them aren't doing shows of that size, right?
Yeah.
And I think everyone knows Chocolate Sundaes, the Laugh Factory in general, but Chocolate Sundaes is set up for success.
Yeah.
Like, that room is just perfect for comedy. The low ceilings in the back, it's dark in there. And we always have a really good crowd. It's sold out. So the energy just feels good. So to someone who might be doing open mics with 40, 50 people in a different space, the laughs aren't that loud.
Yeah.
So even if you get minimal laughs at Chocolate Sundaes, it's probably still the loudest laughs you've ever gotten if you're a beginner. So I think that's why they think that they did really well. But to us, it's like, no, the room should be shaking, right? Like that's a kill.
Like you can hear it in the lounge, like, yo, who's out there killing? Like, we're like, what is that? We start looking on the TVs, like, oh, that's so-and-so. Yeah, we knew that. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's a thing too, but it's not productive because if no one's telling you that wasn't, it, then you don't know. Like, so like we said earlier, like when I did my first one, I was like, the laughs were like you said. Somebody might have been thinking, oh, I got a lot of laughs. I'm like, no, that should have been better than I'm here every week. I know what the standard is, and this wasn't it. So I didn't even say nothing. I just got off the stage, whatever, just went back, started working on the jokes. Like,
is this not a lonely walk? It
is, but it's like,
but I didn't know you felt like that.
No, because it's like, so for y'all that's out there that don't know, this is like the best of the best. So it's like every day that you're at Chocolate Sundaes, it's all. If you just look at the pictures that your photographer puts up on a website, you're like, damn, they were there. Like one time it was Cameron, Jermaine Dupri, Usher, T.I., it was Nelly. It was a whole, like you see them pictures and think like this had to be a concert. Like, no, this is a regular Sunday. So when you're around all these dudes all the time and all we do is talk comedy, talk shop, oh, I got a show coming up. You know what I mean? Most of the time your show is somewhere else. People are not really seeing you. Then you're there. It's like, and you've probably seen it. We're all in the back with the comics hanging out. Oh, so-and-so's going up for his spot. They clear out the lounge and go to the rafters and they're over there looking like, so when you don't do like what you thought, you can't even go up there and be talking shit. Because they'll be like, why didn't you tell the jokes when you was on stage? You feel like, fuck, like you just got to go up there and be humble, just listening, like, so it felt like that. I was like, and when I came on stage, I seen France and he was like, yeah, man, how you doing? And he just dapped me up. And it was like, it wasn't a bomb, but it was like, I got high expectations for myself and I'm in the world famous Laugh Factory. That ain't it. And so I knew, and I just didn't say nothing. I just was like, okay, cool. I kept working on it, and a lot of that joke that I told, on that time, I don't even have that joke no more. Like I kind of just start cutting away and was like, this is trash. This is just hacky, whatever. And now the jokes really, I got like 2 lines out of it that I put with something else to make it better. But that's self-awareness. I knew that wasn't it. And I was like, I don't want to be the fool, but like, hey, so how'd I do? But then when I did it the second time, I was like, no, I feel like that was good. And then when I asked you, he was like, oh yeah, you'll move on. I was like, okay, cool. Then I got that date and it was far down the line. I was like, God damn. But I was okay with it because you've done stuff for me before. So I didn't want to be one of the people like, no, can you bump me ahead? Like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, I'll just keep coming early and maybe someone won't show up and I'll go up like that. But yeah, the second time I knew, okay, that was different than the first time. And if this ain't it, then I got to really look at what I'm doing because shit, you know what I mean? But it was cool. You know what I mean? I liked it. And even then I got better since then. And I done D-Ray's show and that's a hard room.
Oh my God.
That's the dungeon.
That is the opposite. That's what Lewis was saying on that podcast too.
Yeah.
That I forgot. Yeah. We were saying Chocolate Sundaes is Pride Rock and D-Ray's show is where the elephant skeletons are.
That shit is different.
That builds character right there.
And even I've done it 3 times. First time I did it, it was and this is the sad thing. The first time I did it, I was like, yo, that's the best show I ever had. I was like, yeah, I killed that shit. You know what I mean? Then the second time I did it, I was like, what the fuck just happened?
Did you want to quit comedy?
No, I didn't want to quit comedy, but it was like, I didn't get booed or nothing. It wasn't that. It was just, it's that awkward silence when you tell a joke. Yeah. And automatically want to be like, yeah, that's crazy. Like Dion Cole says, yeah, that's crazy.
Give it up for the ladies.
Yeah, give it up for the ladies. Like it was one of those.
Give yourselves a hand for coming out tonight.
It was one of those moments, but I just stopped and was like, okay, went to the next joke. And I got off stage and I was like, what did I just do? And I made fun of myself. I posted like a picture from the set and I was like, basically something like, when y'all don't laugh, like, oh, fuck y'all, anything was like basically just saying like, I was trying to blame the audience for, but I just made fun of myself because I was like, no, this was me. And I don't know what happened. Then I did it the third time with new material that I was working on and it went really well. And like one piece landed flat in the middle, but it was it was just stuff I was like working on, but it was way better than the first 2 times, especially the second time. And I was like, okay, I'm good. You know what I mean?
Listen, I'm not a proponent of blaming the audience in stand up, but D-Ray's room, you can blame the audience. It is them. I don't know what is up with that room, but I've been about 3 times, and the comedians, because normally what happens is a lot of the times it's the same comedians that do Chocolate Sundaes the night before.
Yeah.
If they're in town.
And they're in town. Yeah,
and so they'll hit both.
They'll crack them up on the next.
And they will kill it at Chocolate Sundaes and then bomb at D-Ray's. I don't know what it is, but they are funny. I've seen very few people do well there.
I'm going to tell you a story about that. I wouldn't even bring it up, but you said it. There was a comedian that did the grad spot at Chocolate Sundaes from, I believe, Tacoma. And I wasn't at Chocolate Sundaes that day, but everyone that I talked to was like, yo, he killed that shit. I was like, okay, cool. He did D-Ray's, and he just he did like a little bit of the material.
But that narrows it down to like 2 people.
I mean,
and it's not Nate.
No, it's not. Hell no, it's not Nate. But it's another big black dude. Yeah. So he and I'm cool to do. We follow each other on social media. I told him, and so he did his set. It went horrible, and he left. Which that's like you just gotta stay, and just he left. Michael Collier goes up just to do like a spot. He's like, I don't know what the hell that young man just did. And he cooks him for like 7 minutes in the beginning of the show. I'm like, yo. And then we go outside. Dude's like, yeah, yo. It's nice to meet you. Yo, how I do? I'm like, why don't you ask Michael Collier? He was like, what you mean? I'm like, bro, he just cooked you on stage for like 7 minutes. He was like, oh, he would do something like that. I say, he's from the old school. You don't give a fuck about your feelings. Like, you went up there and bombed. Like, he didn't even do the material. He started doing the material. They weren't laughing. Then he was just like, man, fuck y'all. What y'all? And started going on like a riff. And it just didn't go well. Like, it was dead silent. And he left, like, just went outside and waited. And he was like one of the first people to go up, because when D-Ray don't know you like that, when you're not a comedian that's through the circle, you go up like first. Even though it's not like a first impression, you still get like 10 minutes, but you're the first comedian. And he just sat outside the rest of the time. And I was like, yeah, bro, just keep going on. Damn, that's crazy. You did me like that. I was like, yeah. I'm like,
that's what's supposed to happen. But that stuff is dying now too, because everyone's so sensitive, and it's like so, positivity, and like you can't bully people. We post roast like like Marcus, when we did his birthday and Takara roasted him. He was having we got taken down on TikTok because it's bullying. Like, everything now is bullying. The world is getting soft.
Yeah, it is. And I think that hurts comedy more than anything, because you gotta watch what you say. You gotta like. And that's why I respect the comedian that just did a graduate spot, that did the music, like he went up after Andre, and he came right out and was like, I don't like anime. Don't come to me with that Japanese shit. You didn't see that?
I didn't hear that.
So it was a black dude. He looked like he liked anime. And I think his name is Ryan. And he went up, and first thing he said was, I know what I look like. I don't like no fucking anime. And they bust out laughing. He was like, I don't want to know Japanese shit. Just keep it to yourself. And he started going on. He said, if I guess like black people were cops and were pulling over white people, and he's doing
the song. Did he do the? Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Reload. He's doing it. And I'm like, yo, he made a cop killing joke hilarious. Like, that's talent, because I mean, 20 years ago, but like, whatever, we laugh. If you're not someone like Chris Rock or somewhere, they know you've been branded for your comedy for, 30 years, then you got to earn it. And he made a joke that would be taboo to talk about and sensitive for the whole country. People couldn't stop laughing. I was like, yo, this is brilliant. It's making some comedians better, because they're learning how to navigate those sensitive waters to still be funny. So I wish it would go back to the way it was, but it also is just like, you got to pivot and go with the times. And I think
you do, like cussing. Like, I tell comedians now, you really have to limit your cussing if you want to be on the socials.
Yep.
And that's changing the joke. That I think sometimes is for the better, though. I think a lot of times there's unnecessary cussing.
Like leaning on it.
Yeah. If it doesn't add to the joke, then you don't need to say it.
Yeah. And I learned that from like my social media. I just took all the cussing out of my videos, and they started doing really well, because you could share them. You know what I mean? If your daughter seen something on TikTok, she thought it was funny, but there's a lot of cussing, she's probably not going to show you that. She probably just keep scrolling. But if it's something funny, it's, oh, mom, look at this. Send it to you, whatever. same people, church people, older people, whatever, they can watch it and be like, oh, I can relate to this, and it's not offensive to them. Sometimes you don't want to do that, but you're like, yo, again, do you want to play the game or watch it be played? Because when things change, you got to adapt and overcome, or you just get left behind. And so I think that's what a great comedian, even a good comedian, learns what's going on and just pivots from there and says, no, let me switch this up. And I think
and sometimes it's a nervous tick. I noticed that, I think, with the N word a lot with Black comedians, that some say the N word almost every other word or at the end of every sentence. And it becomes kind of like a tick. I think it's nervousness versus adding to the joke.
Like a filler word, just to, you know what I mean? And I've seen that a bunch of times too. And I think, like, I was talking to Tony and Rico Parrish, and I was like, telling him a joke I wrote, and he was like, yo, say this, change this. And he was giving me tips, and I'm like taking it in, like, okay, cool. And then all in the same breath, the comedian that we're talking about that didn't do well, the improv of Corey, he's arguing with Tate about the same of all. Like, I'm like, yo, no one wants to hear that what you did was not good, or, you know what I'm saying? Because basically said the jokes weren't ready. And he's like, I know you're new in comedy. He's like, no, I've been doing this 12 years. Tate was like, oh. Like, I was like, you shouldn't have even said that, because now you don't look like 12 years. You know what I mean? That's what, and he was trying to give him game, and I'm like, yo, just shut up. He was like, his opinion is not more valid than mine. I'm like, okay, well, you telling me that the person who's done well enough to be on this stage, Chocolate Sundaes, a bunch of times, and feature for Corey on the same show, you bombed that and got booed, and you didn't tell us that. You got booed. So that's not I don't know where you got 4.5 and you got booed. I don't know where you got that from. But the show you got booed at, he's a feature and they love him, but what he's saying is not valid, and what you are is, and he just couldn't take it in. And it was like, and sometimes I get caught up caring more about people than they do themselves, and you're like trying to help them and you're just arguing. Then it just turns to argument, like, yo, just shut up, man. This motherfucker don't want to listen.
Yeah.
Like, just shut up. Just fuck it. And then eventually I was like, all right, bro, whatever. And I could tell he was in his feelings, because like, yo, nobody wants to be told, yeah, that wasn't it. Especially if you've been 12 years and you couldn't do a guest spot. I said, bro, do you understand the crowd that's coming to see him? That's not Chocolate Sundaes crowd. That's not even D-Ray's crowd. That's a crowd that loves what he's saying. If he's coming out, hey, how you guys, ladies?
Yeah.
They're like, fuck you. Like, I'm like, you got to understand that too. You got a chance. He don't really give many people guest spots. Like, Marcus told me that, like, he was like, I was one of the first people to really get a couple guest spots. He don't do that. And he gave it to you, and you went out there, and that's what happened. You know what I mean? Instead of being like, yo, I didn't do well, what could you tell me to improve? And he would have probably gave him some pointers. Yeah, do this, you didn't do that. All right, cool. Well, let me write that down. But comedians, it's the ego. They think, they know everything. So let me ask you this. With Chocolate Sundaes, is that your end stop, or do you want to do something on a larger scale for yourself in your career?
Well, Chocolate Sundaes is my baby, so anything I do would be funneled through Chocolate Sundaes. But yeah, I want to do more things with the brand for sure.
Okay.
Other cities, and like bigger shows. I want to do a Super Bowl show every year, like we did for this year, wherever the Super Bowl is. And really one of the goals for this year is starting like a subscription service. I think that's the way we have to go, because YouTube and Facebook and all those platforms hate us. They hate us. Yeah. Probably on our own platform, not through Patreon. Okay. But I think that's the only way for us to keep pushing content, because we keep getting community guideline strikes. We're too inappropriate to be on a public forum.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah. So how did the show in Phoenix go? I was there, but I got there Friday, like probably middle of you had two shows, right? I probably got there the middle of the second show. I got there late.
I didn't know you were there.
I had a show out there. I got booked for a show, and it was at a place. It was a chicken and waffle place. It's called Lolo's. So
I've been there.
It's good. So I got it, and I remember people like, "Bro, that's not even a comedy club." I'm like, "Well, if you know anything, no comedy clubs are having any shows that weekend." Kevin's down the street doing his biggest show is going to be there. And I'm like, you guys are doing yours. I'm like, and I was at a theater. I'm like, the comedy clubs are closed. So it's not like I could get anywhere else. I'm like, you think I'm going to pass up this money to do a show? Like, and something you said earlier was, when I got there, I put the lineup together. Like, it was up to me. So I put people on that were local, let them, go up. First dude goes up there talking, and he's like a big deal out there, I guess, like as far as like on the up and coming circuit. They were just yapping. Oh, it's gonna be one of these shows. Okay. The chick went up, and then she kind of had that like Takara energy. She's like, bitch, what you talking? And they were shutting up a little bit, listening, like, oh, she's funny. And then E.L. Smith, he was out there. I put him up. He talked a little bit. Then when I went up, it was, I'm like, why y'all talking to like we came to see you? And that was like the first surreal moment for me. I'm like, well, these people were here for me. Like, cause this at a restaurant, you could be there just to eat and be like, oh shit, comedy, cool.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, no, we came to see you. You've been promoting it. We're here. I was like, oh. And that was like the best feeling, but that's why I wasn't able to make it. I got to Phoenix late that night. So I didn't, but how was the show?
It was a really, really good show. Ticket sales were light. I think we were kind of late on the promo and there was a lot of competition during Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But I mean, D-Ray is incredible. The lineup, I mean, I knew it was going to be the funniest show anyone had seen. The lineup was amazing.
But he wasn't on there initially, right? He was
no,
late.
He was.
Oh, he was?
Michael Blackson was at
it.
Yeah,
that's who it was.
D-Ray hosted, and it was just Niche, CP, and D-Lay.
Yeah.
And then Michael Blackson. So
that's a high energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a high energy lineup. You know what I mean? CP, D-Lay, Niche, D-Ray, Michael Blackson. He's loud as hell. But I seen him the next day. We were at the after hours on Saturday together. He's like one section across from me. He had his loud ass blazer on. Like, you know how he dressed. So that was good. So you want to do more things like that. But being at this Chocolate Sundaes is it's not like, oh, I want to go work for HBO.
Yeah, no.
You want to do this and grow this and it be something that's could be global, I guess, bigger. And that's good because a lot of people will look at this like, oh, I just want to use this to get to what they think is a bigger, better option instead of you saying, yo, I want to take this thing that I've cultivated from a young college graduate to where it's at now and take it big. You know, that's pretty
well, because Pookie and I are more like, I mean, he's made me a partner in the business versus just an employee. Yeah. So that's why Chocolate Sundaes really is like a baby to me.
And so you travel a lot. Is that one of your passions?
Well, I don't travel as much anymore. I travel so much now because my man lives in Dallas. Yeah. So I'm usually just going back and forth from Dallas. And then he travels a lot for work. So sometimes we'll go to a city, you know, because I can work from home. Monday through Saturday, I'm working on a computer at my desk. So I can move around a little bit.
Flexibility.
Yeah, but I do love to travel, yes.
Yeah, because every time I go to a store, it'll be like, in an airplane window, I'm like, and it'll be like a day, I'm like, is she gonna be at Chocolate Sundaes? And then you'll be there when I come in, I'm like, damn, she be moving around.
I never miss. I very rarely miss. I usually only miss Sundays a couple times during football season when the Niners are playing somewhere that I gotta go see.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So I just got a few more questions. What's the craziest thing you've seen happen at Chocolate Sundaes since you've been working there?
The craziest thing was when Pookie choked out Eddie Griffin on stage.
What? I ain't never heard that story.
Oh, I know. And okay, so all the shows used to be recorded on little tapes. So I'm trying to go through and like convert all these tapes until digital. So if you only knew the amount of content that's on these tapes, and that's what I think is really going to sell our subscription service is once we like start getting all those. Because there's, you know, when Dave came back from Africa and did that like 7-hour set, that was at our show. That was at our show.
Oh, for real?
When there's a lot of stuff, but anyway, Eddie Griffin was up there. This was probably like 2006 or something somewhere. And he was doing a long ass set. You know, normally our sets are like 15 minutes. Yeah. If you're a bigger name, it might be 20, 25. Yeah. He was probably at like 40, 45 minutes. We're lighting him, nothing flashing, whatever. And then he says something like, man, fuck that light or whatever. You know, he said something disrespectful. He's smoking cigarettes on stage. So after a while, Pookie goes up. He just walks up and takes his neck and shoves him against the wall and chokes him out. And people, security came and whatever to break him up. But it was crazy.
Wow.
They've since made up and they're good, but it was wild. That was definitely the craziest thing.
Yo, I've never even heard that story. So it's probably
there's a lot of crazy stories in the back. Cat Williams raced one of our promoters one time, like at a park after the show. There used to be a lot of crazy stuff that happened after the show.
That's crazy.
But yeah. That place is legendary.
That's good. So, I was going to joke around with you and ask you, like, what's the worst NFL team, you know, in the league, and why is it the 49ers? Isn't that what you're a fan?
Is it the Steelers? Isn't that your team?
Why is it the 49ers?
Are you a Steelers fan?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
so now I feel bad.
Did y'all make playoffs?
No, not this year. It was
Did we?
It was rough. I don't know.
I think we did. So I don't know how we're the worst.
But where did where did you guys watch the Super Bowl from? The same place we did.
Well, I was in Phoenix.
Did you go to the game?
No, I'm kidding. I wasn't there. I came back because they didn't make it.
I was just hoping, like when my social media like kind of started to take off, all these NFL people were like, "Oh, I'm a big fan." They were like sending me stuff, and I was like, "Why don't you send me tickets to the game like that?" So I was just hoping that I was gonna be out there, and one of them was like, "Yo, I got a ticket if you want to." What? I'm there. Didn't happen. You know what I mean? So. But that's good. So you want to take Chocolate Sundaes and make it a big thing, subscription based. I think it'll do really well. How do you think that'll change the lineups? What do you think it'll affect the lineups?
No, I hope not. I don't want it to. What I'm hoping Chocolate Sundaes will do is basically become our own comedy channel and content, kind of like what Kev on Stage has done, which I really, really look up to Kev. And I feel like his business model is what I would like us to go toward. But really just becoming a place where people consume comedy and it's raw, unfiltered comedy. What I really hope is we stay true to the art of stand-up and not have to edit and censor. And people will know about comedians other than household names. Now, everyone knows Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, and all that, but there's so many funny comedians that people should know about. And that's what I want. We want to just be the place where all funny goes. All the comedians that do the main show on Chocolate Sundaes and are on our channels are funny.
Yeah. So I don't want to say developmental, but most of the people that do Chocolate Sundaes aren't people that are stars already. They're on a rise or they're doing things, but they're not everywhere, like you said, like Kevin Hart. Do you think that's what makes the show special, is that it gives that opportunity to those comedians who don't typically get the bigger,
well,
exposure?
I think a lot of the comedians that do Chocolate Sundaes are national and touring comedians. They're headliners across the country. They're just not household names.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but does that give them a light? Because when like Trey's video, you said it got over 50 million views, and he tours with Tony, but that doesn't mean everybody knows him, you know what I mean? So when they see that 50 million people done seen his face, now that helps, like, oh, this is the guy that, I know him. You know what I mean? I think that that's what I took it as, that this was giving a platform to comedians who, even if they're touring or whatever, they don't got the same exposure as like a Michael Blackson or a Corey. Like those, they tour every, probably 45 weeks out of the year, maybe more than that. Most people are just trying to get dates, you know what I'm saying? Like, as funny as CP is, I don't think he tours much. He's a monster, you know what I mean? So maybe you post a clip from him and somebody sees him and was like, oh, we got to get him.
I mean, that's the goal. But I mean, CP is kind of different because he's on a lot of shows, though. CP writes and acts. Like, he's currently on a show for like 4 months or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, CP's like
so
big in the industry.
His path is different.
Yeah, his path is different. But yeah, I mean, that's the goal, right? To get someone to blow up. I mean, like Barry Brewer, his clip on our page, that's kind of the one that is the example. Yeah, I accidentally went on Gay Dates, over 8 million views on YouTube now. And I think probably the same on Facebook. And I know he's gotten a lot of gigs and a lot of money from that clip.
Yeah.
But ideally, like what happened with Ralph Barbosa and his Don't Tell comedy set. I mean, that kind of blew him up to where now he's selling out across the country.
I
right?
didn't even see that
from one clip. So but he's a great example. One clip, I was just talking to Jerry Garcia about it, where Ralph used to open up for Jerry, and now it's switched where Jerry's opening for Ralph, because he had a Don't Tell comedy set that it's only at 3 million views, which really isn't a whole lot, but it was a great set. And he's blowing up. He's selling out everywhere. He just did like 8 shows in LA, all sold out at the Improv.
He did shows with Dave, like Dave Chappelle popped in. They took pictures.
But that's all been in the last 6 months to a year. So really, at any moment, a clip could go viral and really set you off. But his thing was, it wasn't just a 30-second crowd work moment. Yeah. It wasn't just a sketch. He had a 10-minute long a set that was a great set that people really connected to. And what I think is why, because that happens to a lot of people. A lot of people have sets that go, like us too. We've had clips of comedians that do 3-4 million. Do they blow up like he does? No, but what I think is he's Latino, and I don't think there's a whole lot of famous Latino comics yet. George Lopez is still kind of like the biggest one. But he's Latino, and the Latino community in the US is growing a lot. And second, he's young, he's under 30 and he's funny. you know, and he has great jokes. I think that that's a very unique place for him, and I think that's why he's really gonna blow up.
Because I wasn't familiar with him until I saw a clip of somebody like shouting him out, and George Lopez was like, "Why do you keep saying this kid's name? I
that
don't know
helped him. He was already on the way up.
Yeah, and I think
that really
because that's
took
what made me
him-
follow him. Because
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, this dude," and then I was like, "Oh, I started following, and I seen he was torn. I'm like, "Oh, this is okay. Yeah, this dude's funny," but I didn't know. I didn't see it at Don't Tell clip. I just seen that, and it made me follow him because he was like, "I'm not worried about it. Like I'm doing what I got to do."
But
And
he's funny, and he doesn't. He just stands still. He's not super active. He just stands there and tells jokes. He's very quiet and chill.
Yes.
But he has great jokes, and he's young and Latino and
Have
funny.
you ever had him on the show?
No, I was trying to get him when he was just here in LA because he lives in Dallas actually.
Oh, for real?
But he had a show that Sunday night, and like the timing didn't work for him to come back out. But he said he'll stop by the next time.
So okay, that's cool. So, who are some of your favorite comedians that you like to have on a show besides Donnell? Because we all know that
everyone knows Donnell is your favorite. I like Tony Baker. I like Black Ron, Clayton English, who hasn't done the show in a long time because he's not in town anymore. I would say those are probably in my top. Those are top 5 out of 10.
Okay,
for sure.
That's good. That's good. Well,
I mean, Dave Chappelle, of course, but he's everybody's favorite. That's
the
that's low hanging fruit to say.
No, but I know some people like I have people that I just when I go there, I usually sit in the lounge. But there's a few comics when they go up, I'm like, I gotta watch this set, even if it's the same set. It's just hilarious.
CP is up there too.
Yeah, CP is one of them. I love watching Kevin Tate's.
Kevin Tate's joke, the one that went viral, his Facebook, you know, the likes and the, his most famous joke.
Yeah.
That is the only joke on this planet that I've heard at least 100 times and I still laugh just as hard. Like that joke, that is a top 5 joke of all time.
And the way he's acting everything out, he's just like,
that is a perfect joke. Like in joke writing 101 or whatever, that's the joke they need to teach and dissect because I feel like it is perfect.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
When he says, "Bitch, you bet not done like this picture," that part,
he said,
every time.
Swiping.
Yes,
I didn't went through this. He's hilarious, man. It's like it's a
like I could tell that joke. I know it so well. I could recite it word for word, and it still makes me laugh.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Tahir doesn't do the show a lot because he's on the road, but when he did the Halloween show, when he had the
UPS, he'll be here on the 12th, actually.
For real? Okay, yeah, I
seen March 12th.
Like, man. So, I mean, look, Lani, this has been a great conversation. I love what you do. I'm thankful for the opportunity you gave me because this is LA, and you know how it is for up and coming comedians to get stage time. It's like, what did you do? Who are you? Do you know this person? 6 years. You gotta wait. You know what I mean? So the fact that you put me on stage before and then, just been helpful. I'm grateful for that. I'm pretty sure I can speak for all the other comedians who you gave the same platform to, that they're grateful, even if they don't want to admit it. You know what I mean? Because
there's one that's not.
Well, the one is
there's
not.
A couple that's not.
Well,
But yes,
that's the exception to the rule. So no, you're doing a great job with the show. It's I really think it's the best show. I said it was the best show in LA. Ron was like, it's the best show in the country. And I was like, I haven't been all over the country, but for sure out here, it's like my favorite show. And just the show itself, the environment. Even if you're not talking about the comedians that you book, just the show. It's just the environment, the staff, everyone. It's just a good time. And people will be just begging to get in. They had to kick a comedian out last week because he snuck in. We're at capacity. And he snuck in, and I was like,
I know it's been so crazy. The fire department was called, so we got to get really strict.
Yeah,
but
so
it is. Chocolate Sundaes to me has always been a magical place. I can't explain it. I don't take credit for creating that vibe. It's just always been. Pookie created that in the beginning. I feel like any event we do, anytime, it's just people are there with good energy. Like, I feel like that in Vegas, anytime I go out in Vegas, I'm like, people are just there to have a good time. So the vibes are always good in Vegas. People are there to spend money and it's just like a vacation. That to me is how Chocolate Sundaes feels.
But you got to take some credit. Good. I mean, even though he may have started something, he's been gone for a while, and it's been used. So it's like, there could be a restaurant that's good and they switch owners and then it's like, this food is terrible. You could have done a lot of things that made it go down and it's good. And the funny thing is like, when you see, just everyone in the environment, it's like the birthday, the the host from head to toe. It's just like, yo, this is a dope experience. And what people don't realize, and I stress this a lot, just about just things in general, is that like when we look, like they just did the Fat Tuesdays documentary, right? And you watch it, and you're like, oh, that was, you hear the stories, you see the videos, and you're like, man, that was probably a crazy night. And you're thinking about it. We're going through that same thing now, and 30 years from now, 20 years from now, they'll be like Chocolate Sundays, and the people who are just coming up will be like, man, how was it? Yo, OG, you was at Chocolate Sundays? Oh man, it's, we're living that right now. But people, the memory is always better than the moment, because a lot of people don't live in the moment. If you just take a step back and be like, man, look who's all here, look what we're doing, look what's going on. You just take that in. Sometimes it's hard because you got a lot of the lights on, the DJ's playing. Oh, Lani, you got this. Cares asking you questions. It's a lot of stuff going on. But if you just stop for a minute and just froze and said, look what we're doing. In 20 years, when they do a documentary on this, 25, whatever, this is going to be a time in history that's just unremarkable. Like, yo, you was there for that? Yeah, I was here for this. I was there one night. David Arnold did this, and and rest in peace, he's gone. But all this stuff that's happening, we talking about, we laugh about Boogie set. And we went to the memorial. That didn't even seem like a memorial. That seemed like a comedy show. All this stuff, we'll be looking back and be like, man, it's in the history books, and you can't take that away. So I think you're a part of history, Lani, and it's going to just get greater and greater. And I hope the success that you want for it is exponentially bigger than even what you think. You know what I mean? I hope it just gets something so large scale that you're looking at it like, yo, I never thought when I was an intern that I would be, you know what I mean? So I wish you nothing but success in all your future endeavors. If you want to tell them where they can reach you, or the show, you can, plug it all in.
Yeah, Chocolate Sundaes, everything. Sundays is spelled like the ice cream. Chocolate, Sundaes on everything. And thank you, Mike. That was nice of you.
No, I'm really, I had to get you on here, man. I was like, because like I said, you were one of the first people I met when I moved out here. I met Ron prior to moving out here. And then I met Takara and Teron and you and Frankie that used to book for Comedy Union. And those are like the first, they gave me advice. And Tahir, he put me on stage at the Comedy Union for his birthday show. And I was like, man, this is, because I was expecting to come out here and everybody's like, get out of here. Like just being, because that's how New York is. You know what I mean? I never been to New York for comedy, but I've been in New York, and I know that it's not like, lovey-dovey. It's gritty. So I was expecting that in LA, and it wasn't like that. So you were one of the first people that was like, oh yeah, I feel like Chocolate Sundaes is like family to me, and I like being in that environment every week. It's just great, man. So it was great having you as a guest. It's gonna be one of the better interviews because we got an attractive face. We didn't have two dudes, so now we can mix it up now. So they go like, oh,
but they were funny though. People want to see funny.
Yeah, they do. But
we weren't funny enough, Mike. No, you were supposed to. You're the comedian.
No, but I want this to be about you. I wanted to expound on what you're doing, because it's on my show is like, there'll be times where it'll be like a lot of joking and laughing and stories and stuff. But I kind of want to get some people to understand different aspects of the business and different people. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people in LA know you, but I want someone to watch this and like, oh man, there might be a young girl watching this to be like, I can do what she's doing, because there's not a lot of women in this business that even get the credit for what they're doing. You know what I mean? There's a lot of like powerful women who their shit just gets swept under the rug because they're a woman. Or
I know, and that actually is something I'm going through, because I always say I'm the janitor and I like being low key. I don't want people to know who I am, but I am kind of like at a point where I feel like I do kind of have to make myself known, like in the industry. If I want to, pursue other things, people do need to know that I know what I'm talking about, that I'm an expert or whatever you want to say in business or comedy or whatever in the industry. But I hate it. I don't want people to know who I am. You want to
be just,
I just want to do my job.
I get it. But sometimes I just want to give you your flowers, because like I said, like I see what the shit you deal with week in and week out. And like, I'm a kind of person that's very like protective of people, not even just like women or like, I definitely don't like that though. When I see someone like picking on a woman only because of that, I want to fuck them up, because I'm like, you're a sucker for that. Like, if you was doing that to a dude, I might be like, yo, chill, that's corny. But when you're doing it to a woman, I'm like, you're a coward. And so when I see stuff like the things people will say, especially like in comments, I never seen no one say nothing in your face, but people will say shit like, oh, how is she judging comedians and she's not even black and all this, and I'll just be like, yo, and that's how I really wanted to highlight all of what you do. So when they see this, before they go to hit the keyboard and be gangster and be like, she don't know shit, they can listen and be like, No, she knows she knows what the fuck she's talking about. And she got a lot of power. Like, let me not fucking hit this button and be blackballed from the fucking, you know what I mean? Because you can make sure no one, you control that. You're the gatekeeper of that. You know what I mean? And that's something, like you said, people want to do. It's like Def Comedy Jam or the Apollo. That stuff is gone now. This is the new thing that will be the thing we miss if it's ever gone in 30 years. Like, damn, remember when it was this? And so I wanted people to understand how dope you really are and what you're putting into the work you're putting into creating something that's so legendary before they go, hey, let me talk shit on this woman because I just think that she's just, there are people like, oh, she just got this job because she's attractive or because she's this or somebody who does she do to get to this? That's the thing. It's never, oh, she put in the work. She's smart. She's talented. She's skilled. She knows this craft. She knows how to put a show together where you're like, yeah, only the last guy was good. Because you've been in probably shows like that where this comedians, you're like, I just like the last guy because they say the best for last. Man, start to finish. It's Ron, Takara, BT, whoever's hosting, even Brandon or Keon when they're doing the first impressions. The host, he sets the tone. Hilarious. Brings up the comedians. Now, whether they do good or not but the audience knows this is the tryouts. You know what I'm saying? When they see the main show, they're like, oh, we know what we're getting. You know what I mean? What's the dude that always sits in the front with the suit on with the earpiece in and
Leland.
Shit? Yeah, Leland. He's a vet, right? He knows, okay, yeah, it's a good show. Because anybody that comes to this show that much you got to pay knows that it's worth going to. So, yeah, I could have been funny, but I wanted this to be about you and shed light on what you do because I feel like you deserve your flowers. And I don't see you on no podcast, no except y'all's.
No, that's crazy. I told you, literally like 3 weeks ago is when I decided I need to be out there more. And I'm saying I need to be out there for the show, not for me. That's how I'm selling it to myself.
Because that's your brand in a way.
So I'm saying like to myself, I'm selling it like, no, do it for the show. The show deserves it if you want to. So anyway, but as soon as I said that, that's when you asked me. I was like, okay, I got to start doing more.
Well, that's good. I'm glad to have you because it was a great conversation. I had fun. Like I said, I wish you nothing but success. And
they're all gonna say that you're kissing my ass, right? So you can get stage time.
I said it.
That's what they say.
Listen, people,
to anyone that's nice to me.
Listen, that's another thing. Like it's like, I tell people you can like the last 2 weeks I've seen you. I said if someone doesn't show up, can I go up? Because some people are greedy. You know what I'm saying? Like you took care of me before for the 3-minute spot, and then I had to wait because I fucked it up. You know what I mean? So then I had to wait until the other spot came back around. You know what I'm saying? Which was a year. So listen to that. She gave me the chance. I didn't do what I was supposed to, and had to wait another year. And I didn't say fuck that or I should be entitled. I was just like, nah, this is something good for me. Now I know that shit, you wasn't ready for that. Maybe this year will fucking get you ready and you'll take it serious and be prepared. And then I was. So now when my date comes, I'll even be more prepared. But just being there is just a good feeling, just being around. You know what I mean? And then who knows? Something might happen in between now and my date where I just take off and you're like, yo, I'll put you up next. Anything can happen, but I'm not the kind of person to be like, oh, because I know you, that I should feel like, yo, let me just overstay my welcome and be like, hey, can you do this? No, I wait my turn like everybody else. I'm not better than nobody else. I'm not above no one. Just because I know you doesn't mean I should get special privileges. So you did something once for me. I appreciate it. And now I wait my turn and go from there.
And I could do it again. If you come, I mean, people flake a lot.
That's why I said
they're waiting like 5 years. So,
but I'm not going to just text you and be like, hey, Lani, even though the list is full, you just bump me up. My date is whatever. I don't even know when it is, but I'm not going to ask that because I'm like, I'd rather just come and be there and be ready. Because a bunch of times I came to the Laugh Factory for Tehran's show, for other shows, and they're like, yo, this person didn't show up. Like Tony Rock didn't do Tehran's show one time. He didn't even know he was on it. And I was about to leave, and the manager, Mercy, she was like, you want to close out the show? Tony's not here. I was like, yeah, no, he's not here. Because I just got off the phone with him. He said he didn't even know I had a spot. She was like, yeah, you can go up. And just being there and being ready, and I did really well. And that was like a 12-minute spot. And that wasn't the Chocolate Sundaes crowd. That was the Tourist Thursday, you know what I mean? And I did really well. And I was like, okay, but being in the right position to receive the opportunity is key. So I'm going to be like, yo, if I come, you going to put me up? Otherwise, I ain't coming. And I'm going to be there no matter what. You got a spot, let's go. If not, you know what I mean? So, hey, I ain't kissing her ass, but y'all can say that if y'all want.
Are you white?
A black and Italian.
Oh,
so what are you?
Oh no, but why did you say White Mike? Why did you go by White Mike?
Okay, so we still got time. So growing up, there was a bunch of Mikes like in my neighborhood, And the way black people talk, you know, is different. So they were like, yo, who was you with? I was with Mike. What Mike? They don't say my last name. They're like, you know, white ass Mike.
Mhm.
That's kind of how it came
Oh,
about.
okay.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, who's you with? Ron, which Ron? Ron that got the Escalade or Ron that owned the barbershop? No, I don't want the. That's how people talk. So they were like, yeah, white Mike, because I was light. So it stuck. My mom calls me that. My friends, since I'm like, come on, like 9, 10, young, and it just stuck. So I was white Mike all my life, and I thought that was gonna be the catchy thing to get me like you know like Earthquake, Sinbad, Cedric the Entertainer. Like I thought having a name like White Mike and then showing up on stage and not being white was going to be like kind of a gimmick. It backfired. The first time I ever got booed at a show is because they thought I was really white and I was saying nigga on stage right out the gate.
Yeah, because you're not obviously black.
But
so yeah,
but
if
when I
you were
had hair,
obviously
it was
black-
like obvious that I wasn't white. Like
Oh.
maybe Puerto Rican, but when I had hair, my hair is real curly. Like I didn't look anything like white, like Puerto Rican, maybe something like that, but not white. Then I got a bald head. I'm like, I joke around, like, if I put on some Oakleys, it's like, where was you at January 6th? You know what I mean? Especially when I don't got a tan, like in the wintertime, it's really bad. But I didn't know. I'm from Pittsburgh. It's like black, white, or you're mixed, but you're black.
Mhm.
So, and everyone knew me all my life. Like Pittsburgh's not a big city. Everyone knows me. So it wasn't no like, what's going on? They're like, oh, we know him. You know what I mean? When I got out here, I'm like, yo. And the dude kind of set me up. I tell the joke, but the dude brought me on stage. It was like, it's an all black shows, Black History Month. We had one token white guy on the lineup. I was like, whoa, what? What? Make some noise for White Mike. They didn't even clap. I was like, what the fuck is going on? But I just I wasn't that good to fix what he did. And I said, okay, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go up there and be like, yo, I know what y'all thinking. This nigga ain't white. And I said that, and some chick was like, I know this motherfucking cracker ain't say the N-word. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I just started sweating. Like I didn't even have my beard. It was like real low. So it was really like, I just started sweating. I was like, they're like, yeah, what the fuck? I was like, oh shit. And it felt like the SpongeBob meme, like where everything was spinning. I was like,
my God.
and if I had been doing comedy way longer, I'd have been like, well, and I could have just did something. But I just was like, yeah, so, and just started trying to get right into the jokes. And they were like, no. And at the end, I told like the closing joke, and some dude in the back booed loud as fuck. And I just reverted like, what'd you say, nigga? Like I got tight. Like I was so frustrated. I was like, what the fuck is going on, bro? I was so mad.
You really got boo, like
Boo!
in a quiet
in the back of the ha.
I've never
you know, in the
seen
back
that
of
in
the
real
ha
life.
is like you know how the back of the Laugh Factory is real dark, like in the booths. It's like that at the ha was real dark.
Oh my God.
I was like, who the fuck said it? I'm like going like this, trying to look under the shit. Like, yeah, who the fuck said that? Like, the fuck off this stage, white boy. I was like, yo, all right, that's my time. And I was coming to the stage as White Mike. I was like, I went home, and I'm gonna tell you, Tehran was the one that made me change my name. Well, that happened, and then COVID shut down like a couple days, like a week later.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like stressed. And then Takar used to have spade games at our house during COVID. And I knew her she was like, I know you're out by yourself. Like, come play spades. You can bring your daughter. I'm like, all right, cool. She's like, the comics be hanging out. All right. So we go over there. Me and Tehran's playing spades. He's like, you know how to play? I'm like, I guess I'm all right. He's like, all right. And we wash everybody. He's like, nigga, you lying. Like, I was like, I don't know. He was like, what's your name? And I told him, he was like, you coming to the stage by that? I was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, don't do that. And he was like, cause I didn't know what you was. He was like, it's confusing. And then I told him the story. He's like, see, I know, change that shit. And I went home that day and new Instagram, new email.
Mike Murphy.
The business cards, got rid of them shits, t-shirts, threw them in the trash. Like, fuck it. I had spent like $400 on like branded fucking shit. There was,
oh my God. There's like sad music playing in the background.
But I thank Tehran for that every time I see him, because I'll be like, yo, it became I can't even get to the jokes because when I say it, I have to address that. And that's what happened with Ron. That's how I met him. I was like, he's like, yeah, shouting out White Mike. And I sat right in the front, like right here. He was like, you what? Like, hold on.
Do you do a set about that? Yeah. You have a joke about it?
I wrote the joke based on that story.
Yeah.
And it's similar to what I told you, but it's punched up way more.
Mm-hmm. That should be a joke. That's why I asked.
Yeah. And so like in Phoenix, I closed my set out with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and basically I just say like, I don't identify as White Mike anymore, so don't dead name me. Like I do like the transgender, like I identify as Mike. I ended like that, and I'm like, that's my time. And then I walk off. But I worked on it so much to get it really good. Because before it was just like the story. Like I could tell you the story like detail, and it's like a story, so it don't have to be funny like on stage. Mm-hmm. But I kind of was doing that on stage, and so it'd be flat for a minute. Then I would say something funny, but it was too far in between the punches. So I had to like kind of not tell the story. I had to make stuff up to make it funny. Like it's not, you just can't tell the real story. You got to be, you know, comedy to it. So I started working on it. But yeah, tell that. But that's just changed because I'm like, every time I'm on the stage, that's what's happening. To hear show at the comedy, you never like looking at me. And I was like, what's going on? Like I could not figure it out because LA is a melting pot. It's people from everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like I know that you have Asian in you, but I don't know what you are. So I could be like, oh, she maybe this, maybe this. You could be from Guam. It could be any, you know what I'm saying? It's LA is crazy. Where I'm from is not that. It's just three things: white, black, and in the middle. So I came out here and got a rude awakening. Like, holy shit.
Boo.
Boo. I was like, what the fuck?
See, that's why I could never do comedy. One boo like that, I would never return. I'll walk out. Like
I think I don't think that because I see like, I don't want to say you're like tough, but you like deal with a lot. So it's like, it feels like you put up with that. But I know you don't even like being put on the spot when they're bringing, like when it was your birthday and James Davis was cracking jokes. She was like, oh, like, I don't even want to be like, just keep doing it. Just stick to this set, bro. Yeah. Like, so I could see that, but it was like, yeah, but yeah, that boo.
No, I do like getting roasted. I like getting roasted from my seat. I don't like attention on me, like being on stage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But every year for my birthday, I want to get roasted. And I book comedians, my friends that are comedians, and tell them to roast me. And they never do it. James is the only person.
Because he's like, that's really my friend. Like, you know, then you bring in your man to the show now. So nobody want to say nothing. Like, I'm speaking to you. He's like, oh, you introduced me. He always like this. Sitting next to him, like, man, is this nigga a bodyguard? Like,
he is my bodyguard.
I'm just trying to speak to, like, you know, but he got that, like, I'm here to, you know what I mean? So, but no, but so when I met you with him, the first and then him. And so I was sitting there like, so when you introduced me to him, I shook his hand. I was like, oh, he's cool. But he's always sitting there with the like, don't say shit about my woman. Don't even walk past here. Like, you see the light, get off stage, dog. Like, so yeah, but that's cool, man, that you know, you like to be roasted. You just don't like to be on stage. They brought you on stage. He was like, they brought you on stage. Like, oh, I don't want to come up there or whatever.
Yeah, I don't. But I love being roasted.
Well, I'll make sure when they see this, y'all gotta roast Lani for her birthday next year.
Please,
we'll put it
roast
together.
Me in the comment.
And they do that anyways.
Oh, okay.
Because they don't think you should be telling black comedians what's funny. That's what they say. That's so crazy. Like I never heard nothing like that. I said, man,
funny is funny.
And you've been around.
What is black funny versus Korean funny versus white funny?
Because people would use anything to basically blame why they're not funny or what, you know what I'm saying, their position.
Yeah.
Because if you was booking them, they wouldn't be saying that.
Exactly. You know that's what I said.
And if you had a comedian go on stage, kill it, and then come down, you was like, yo, you're hilarious. They wouldn't be like, I'm black. You can't. They wouldn't say that. They're saying it because they're in Kansas or some shit and it's 2032 for their 3-minute spot and they don't like that. You know what I'm saying? Because some people feel like, I gotta wait this long for 3 minutes, like, and he said, "Who blew up from Chocolate Sunday?" Like saying, like, if you could prove to me why there should be a wait list that long, like the reward, then I'll be okay with it. Like, yo, it's not the proof is in the wait list. Like, if it wasn't a good show, wasn't nobody want to do it, you'd be on next week. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's place around here I can be like, yo, I'm coming in, and I'm not nobody, like. And I can get stage time. That's not the great show. You know what I'm saying? But the show that everyone wants to be on, you waiting 6 years, clearly you're outnumbered. Read the room, bro. You're just angry about not being on stage or not being where you want to be in your career. So you blame the person you think is the easiest target or the person you can make the victim. You know what I mean? Which I don't like, but oh well. So Lani, was great having you. I don't want to keep you all day, hold you hostage. Chocolate Sundaes. Every Sunday, 7 p.m., 9 p.m., sometimes on the holidays. Well, every holiday it's day off the next day. They do an 11:30 show as well. The Laugh Factor on Sunset.
Follow all our pages.
Everything.
Subscribe.
The Sunday Scoop,
YouTube.
Right? What's that? Y'all changed the name of it, right?
The Chocolate Sundaes Comedy Podcast for better branding.
Okay, better branding.
But follow the Chocolate Sundaes YouTube page, Instagram, all of that.
All that.
I wish this was live because we're doing the premiere of James's clip tonight. Oh, are you gonna watch?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch.
We're gonna do a premiere on YouTube. So, he did 10 minutes of straight crowd work on this couple. It was incredible.
So what I'll do is
off the dome.
I'll post this clip. I'll cut it and just post us talking about, and I'll clip that and tell them to go check it out and I'll get the YouTube link off the site and put it on there. So
if you're a comedy nerd, a stand-up comedy nerd, You should watch it. Just see. He went up on stage, prepared to do a set, and he saw this interracial couple in the front row and did 10 to 12 minutes of straight off the dome crowd work on this couple.
And what time is it dropping? Pacific
7
Standard
p.m.
Time.
Pacific time.
So that's 10 o'clock on the East Coast, because
Yep.
some of y'all don't know what that means. And 7 o'clock here on the West Coast. So, and I'll do that. So, hey, check it out, man. Subscribe to all the, YouTube, Instagram, the podcast, all that, man. It's been a great experience. You've been a wonderful guest. I'm so glad you came. Get yourself out there so you can build this brand up way bigger. And maybe I'll have you back once once you get something really big going. We'll get on here and
I'll come back anytime.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Lani.
I thank you.
We out.